So after our instrument had gone through those various rounds of revision and it was finalized, it was ready to undergo content validity testing as well as the process to establish inter-rater reliability. There are many different ways to establish content validity. In a nutshell, content validity, establishing it, really just involves evaluating the extent to which an instrument represents all facets of a given construct. In our case, we're looking to see whether our e-portfolio represents all facets of a given domain through the language that we have written in the skills that we have requested our pre-service teachers to demonstrate in the area of proficiency. So you remember that our scoring rubric was a 4 scale, and you could score the highest of a 4, and that would mean you're distinguished. 3 was proficient, and that became our target level. So what we were looking to evaluate is whether the language and skills that were written in the proficient category, whether those were essential to demonstrating proficiency in that given domain or in that given area. So to do this, what you do is you select a given number of subject matter experts and you ask them to evaluate the language that you used to demonstrate proficiency for each of the domains or even subcategories, because we broke up some of our domains into 2 parts, if they're essential to demonstrating and fulfilling the various tasks of that domain. And when they're rating whether the language that has been written to demonstrate proficiency, they're questioning whether that language is essential to showing proficiency in that given domain, or whether it's useful but not essential, or whether it's just not necessary at all. So they're categorizing it by those 3 different aspects. Once you have all of your subject matter scores for each individual domain, you're looking at how many rated the language for proficiency as essential to showing proficiency in that given construct or that given domain. And anytime more than half of the subject matter experts evaluate it as being essential to demonstrating proficiency, you have at least some content validity, and the equation will return positive values. The values can go all the way from -1 to +1. Positive values, though, demonstrate some content validity. Is it enough? That is all determined by using a scale of scores that are dependent upon the quantity of subject matter experts that you have chosen. If you choose very few subject matter experts, then the vast majority of them need to be saying that the language you used for a given construct in the proficient area is essential to demonstrating that skill. If you have a greater quantity, like if you go from like 5 to 42, for instance, fewer of them would have to demonstrate or agree that the language is essential, and you're allowed more variability. So there is good reason to reach out to more subject matter experts because it's easier then to hit the target that you need to say that, yes, this particular domain has established content validity. It is measuring what it said it will measure. And we're going to talk about how we determine our participants in just a bit. But once you have the content validity ratio for each of the domains or the sub areas, and when we had sub areas, we looked at them all independently because we wanted to make sure every single portion, all the skills that we're evaluating, were essential, particularly to demonstrating proficiency in that given area. But once you have all of them, you can then take the average and determine the content validity index of the entire instrument. So it just works to then show forth that not only are these individual competencies or domains in the language used therein They are essential to showing competency in these areas, but the entire instrument also shows content validity. It is measuring what it said it would actually measure. So that's the process of establishing content validity. In just a moment, I'll explain how we chose our participants.